Somebody just got a 250% raise.
Not a typo. 250%.
If your paycheck tripled overnight, you'd feel like you made it, like you were finally winning. So why does it feel like the opposite? Why does everyone you know, broke college grads, people working 2 jobs, people with good salaries on paper, all feel like they're falling behind, even with that raise sitting right there in the numbers? Before you think this is just another rage bait video, it's not. No assumptions, no opinions. Every single number in this video is a real, public statistic. Sources and links are in the description, so you can go check every claim yourself. Something's not adding up. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly where that money went. Because it didn't disappear. It went somewhere you were never told to look. No 30-second intro, no smash subscribe before we start. Let's just get into it. Since 1985, U.S. median household income rose roughly 255%. That's not a small bump. That's life-changing money on paper. But here's the part nobody puts next to that number. In that same stretch, median house prices surged more than 415%. Your paycheck and the cost of your life were supposed to grow together. They didn't. One of them sprinted, the other jogged. And almost nobody shows you both numbers side by side. So let's actually look at all 4 places that money's been quietly draining out. Start with the big one, the thing everyone's parents talk about like it was no big deal. In 1985, the median U.S. home cost $82,800, while the median household earned $23,620 a year. A home cost about 3.5 times what the average family made. That ratio is the whole reason your parents' generation could buy a house in their 20s off one normal job. Not because they were smarter with money, the math was just easier. Now look at this. Since 1980, the median home price has grown 551%, while income only grew 373% in that same window. Today, the median home costs $416,900, about 5 times the median household income. Same dream, almost double the gap. Here's the number that should actually stop you. If income had simply kept pace with home prices since 1980, the average household would be earning $115,225 today, about $31,000 more than people actually make. $31,000. That's not, the economy is just different now. That's a real missing number. And it's about the size of the hole most people feel every month and can't explain. Now here's the part that's going to make people mad. Because we were all told this one fixes everything. Since 1980, the typical cost of college has gone up 169%. Pay for young workers in that same window? Up just 19%. Read that again. Costs went up nearly 9 times faster than the paychecks of the actual people paying for it. Adjusted for inflation, the cost of a degree has more than doubled since the late 1960s, growing way faster than both wages and regular prices. The thing that was supposed to be the great equalizer, the ticket out, it became one more bill that outran the income it was supposed to protect. Your parents could work a summer job and basically cover a semester. That math is dead now, not because anyone got lazy, because the price moved and the wage didn't show up to the race. Here's the one almost nobody puts in these videos, and it might be the sneakiest of all of them, because it doesn't show up as a bill you write yourself. It shows up as a number on a pay stub you never even see, called your employer contribution. In 2000, the average annual premium for a family health insurance plan through an employer was around $6,400. By 2025, that same family plan averaged $26,993. That's not a typo either. That's over a 300% increase in 25 years, and the average worker's own paycheck did not come close to keeping pace. Here's why that matters, even if your employer pays for it. Every dollar your company spends on your health premium is a dollar that does not show up as a raise. Economists have a name for this. It's called the wage premium trade-off. When healthcare costs eat the budget, raises shrink to make room for them. So the money was never really free. It just got rerouted before it ever touched your bank account. And if you're paying for your own family's coverage directly, or covering childcare instead, the picture is just as brutal. Government data tracking childcare costs found they rose 214% over roughly 3 decades, while average wages over that same window rose only 143%. In 3 out of 4 U.S. regions, a year of infant daycare now costs more than a year of rent. So stack it up. Housing detached from wages. College detached from wages. Healthcare detached from wages. Childcare detached from wages. 4 separate bills, 4 separate decades, the same exact pattern. Every single time.
Quick pause.
Because it's all just inflation doesn't actually explain this. Inflation raises everything roughly together. This is different. This is specific things outrunning wages, while wages themselves were also rising. So what's actually driving it? For housing, a huge piece of the answer is something most people never think about: zoning law. Most U.S. cities and suburbs restrict large amounts of land to single-family homes only. No duplexes, no apartments, no smaller units allowed, by law. Economic research has repeatedly linked stricter zoning rules directly to higher home prices, because the rule doesn't just regulate buildings, it caps how many homes can legally exist on a given piece of land. When the legal supply is capped, but the number of people who want to live there keeps growing, the price of what little supply exists gets bid upward. It's not that builders forgot how to build, it's that in huge parts of the country, it's illegal to build enough. For college, the mechanism is different, but just as mechanical: credential inflation. As more people were pushed to get a 4-year degree just to qualify for jobs that never used to require one, demand for college seats rose. But the number of accredited universities didn't expand anywhere near as fast. At the same time, colleges gained easy access to a deep, federally backed pool of student loan money, which let tuition rise without losing enrollment, because students could always borrow more to cover the gap. Supply stayed roughly flat. Demand and available financing both went up. Price did exactly what price does in that situation. For healthcare, employer-sponsored insurance ties most working Americans to a system where prices are negotiated between employers and insurers, largely invisible to the actual patient, which removes the normal pressure that makes prices behave in other markets. Drug costs, hospital pricing, and chronic disease treatment have all climbed for years, and because most people never see the real price tag, there's been almost no consumer pressure pushing back on it. None of these are conspiracy theories. They're policy choices and structural quirks made over decades that nobody coordinated, but that all point the same direction. Here's the part that's actually going to mess with you a little, in a good way. Real wages, adjusted for inflation, really have gone up since the 1980s. About 19% higher by 2025 than they were in 1985. So you weren't imagining the raise. It's real. It's just been eaten alive by 4 of the biggest costs of being a functioning adult: a place to live, the piece of paper you needed to qualify for a decent job, the insurance that keeps you alive, and the childcare that lets you actually go to work in the first place. This is the actual mechanism behind feeling poorer than your parents. It's not that you make less than they did. By the numbers, you probably make more. It's that the biggest costs in your life, detached from your paycheck completely, and floated off into a different economy than the one your wage is stuck living in. This isn't a stop buying coffee video. It's not about discipline or some budgeting app. No amount of personal effort closes a gap measured in hundreds of percentage points. You can't out-hustle math like this. And naming it right actually matters, because the wrong diagnosis leads to the wrong fix. If you think you're behind because you're bad with money, you end up trying to discipline your way out of a problem discipline can't touch. If you actually understand the gap, you stop blaming yourself for something that was never really about you. Your parents weren't smarter with money than you. They were running a race with a finish line that hadn't moved yet. That doesn't pay off your rent or your loans tonight. But it might be the difference between feeling like you failed and finally understanding exactly what you're actually up against. If this connected, you already know somebody who needs to hear it too. Send it to them. And if you want the next one of these the second it drops, subscribe. That's it. That's the whole ask.